Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Mike
Mike Crenshaw.
Noise. Tony O. Check it out, y'all.
Yes, y'all. It's your boy DJ Klyph. We back at it again, man. It's another episode of DJ Klyph Presents. And thrilled to have an opportunity to chop it up with my man, 50 grand. I'm tripping. Yo, let them know who you are, man.
Hey, I'm Mike Crenshaw. It's good to be back here chopping it up with Klyph, DJ Klyph, man. What's happening, man?
Man, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm tripping because I know how busy a man you are, and you took a moment out of your busy schedule to come and hang with me.
But you're giving me an opportunity to share what I do, and that's love, bro. You know, so I don't miss these opportunities. It's almost like, you know, it's one of the reasons I'm so busy is because I don't feel like I can afford to miss opportunities.
No doubt.
To do what we do. So
many things to kind of touch on simply because you're involved in so many different things. So where where to begin? I know that I first connected with you, really just seeing how you were. I'm gonna say, in my words, sort of a foundational part of. Attached to a bunch of different things. Right. But you didn't get your start here.
Well, no, man. I'm from Chicago originally, South Side, and then I lived around Illinois and wound up in Minnesota. So my childhood was in the Midwest. My teenage years were in Minneapolis, and into my 20s. And that's when I moved to Portland about 24 years ago. So, you know, I came in the middle age between, you know, being a young adult, 20s in, and being a middle-aged man. That's where my hip-hop career started, out here in Portland, and I'm still doing it as an independent artist and, you know, various other capacities in as far as like co-manager of cable community radio and, you know, lead organizer for Afrikan HipHop Caravan. You know, I figured out a way to do numerous things so that all my eggs weren't in the MC basket.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that I think is really cool. I mean, you mentioned being a part of the leadership team at the radio station of cable. Obviously gives you an opportunity to stay connected to the music scene, but then also it seems it would also give you an opportunity to really share your vision with the masses in a larger way.
Yeah, and I think like one of the biggest things I've learned in me doing what I do as an independent hip hop artist who has achieved a certain degree of success, but who has never become so consistently successful that I'm just like on tour, you know, 75% of the year with a big tour bus, you know what I mean, with millions of dollars in support behind me, is that I want to create, I feel like I have a responsibility to create opportunities and platforms for other artists that might be younger than me or have a common kind of consciousness behind what they're doing to also do what they do. So it's I guess you could call it giving back, but not in a sense where like I'm taking you know, $1 million in building a basketball court or something like that.
Right.
You know, but definitely being at the radio station allows me to be in a position where I get to support arts and culture and that kind of activity in my community. Yeah. You know, and give people an outlet.
Yeah. That's what's up. Chopping up with Mike Crenshaw. So you one of the things that I wanted to touch on, you know, if folk go and look for your art and see your name and it's attached as, or it's labeled as conscious hip hop, conscious music, conscious MC. What does that mean to you? Because I know that artists get labeled typically by those who are listening or those who do the labeling. Right. But in your mind, what does that conscious artist mean to you?
Well, first and foremost, it means that I just do what comes naturally to me, and I do what I'm good at, and I stick to what I'm good at. So there's, you know, music gets forced into genres. And I know that as artists, we're individuals who have a diverse array of experiences that inform, you know, who we are in the world. But when it comes to making music, some of us talk about are better at talking about certain things. So, you know, you look at hip hop, you're going to have the genre of reality rap or gangster rap or trap or whatever they're going to call it, you know, next year. But the thing is, a lot of those cats that choose to talk about what they talk about, even like right now when you're looking at the battle format, you know, and you got these young cats talking about gunplay, to the extent where like some of their bars, that's all they talk about. Their whole battle verse is about how they're going to kill somebody, and it's really ironic because no, you're not. You're in a rap battle, first of all. You don't have you're talking about all these guns, but you're just there in your clothes and you're yelling. So like, you know, but I think we a lot of us have been conditioned to think that that's what we have to do to be valid. You know what I mean? And I always chose to do what was an actual reflection of my life because I didn't feel like I wanted to get caught out there saying something that wasn't actually what I was about. You know, and so for me, being a conscious MC is just about me sharing the things that I think about, the way that I feel, and who I am in a way that I can totally back up. You know, and
being true to self,
being true to myself, and being true to the environment and the conditions that I actually live in. So, like, I don't know people that have. I mean, I might know somebody that's got a yacht, but we're not on it. You know, it's at the dock, right. Exactly. You know, and I might know people that sell dope, but I'm not telling y'all. You know, so all that rah has just never been something I could really do and be real at the same time.
No doubt. No doubt. Mike Crenshaw up in here speaking truth, man. So I wanted to, you know, kind of going through. It's crazy because, like I said, when I was looking at people who were doing things here in Portland and had to go through and look at your discography, you've done in terms of recorded content. I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but projects that really fall under Mike Crenshaw. There's a couple I want to touch on. So we got in 2009 you released Thinking Out Loud.
That's right.
And then in 2010 it was Under the Sun. And then in 2013, one of my favorite joints you did with Dead Prez, you did that Superheroes joint.
Right.
For real, power to the people, power they feel, freedom, that's what I'm here to build. Fight to win, I do, I will. We are our own superheroes, fighting for our rights. We are our own superheroes.
Which was crazy on so many different levels in terms of production, but content. That song is so deep, like a message that I think speaks to so many people, youth as well as adults. You know, and then you released the EP in 2013, Bionic Metal. But then there's other projects, like I said, recordings that you've done, projects that you've been involved with. And we're recording this now in 2015, so I'm gonna stop right here and say, when's the next project dropping?
Well, you know, I'm trying to figure that out. I have an album's worth of material that's unreleased. Some of it is brand new. Like I just wrapped up a song on a stick beat that's an international effort between myself and some of the brothers from the Caravan in South Africa and Zimbabwe. And it's going to be going on an international compilation called Battle Cry for Cuba and Zimbabwe that's put out in support of lifting the sanctions on Zimbabwe and the blockade on Cuba, with artists from all over the world are going to be on that. And I was introduced to Obi Egbuna, that's the brother that's putting it out. He's a foreign correspondent for the Zimbabwe Herald who lives in Washington, D.C. Powerful brother, playwright, activist, educator. And I was introduced to him by M1. In my efforts to get Dead Prez to be able to play a show in Zimbabwe. And so it might sound kind of complex and long-winded, but what it is that when you do the work that we're all doing, the world gets smaller and smaller. And when we get out here, there's really 1 degree of separation between me and some of these other cats that are doing similar work elsewhere. So that said, when I was in Africa in November of 2014, I recorded about 10 songs with about 8 or 9 other artists in about 4 cities and 4 countries. I'm still waiting to get my hands on the final mixes and masters of that material.
Yeah.
I've got this new song I just submitted to the compilation. And then I got a number of songs that I'm trying to figure out, should I just keep releasing singles or should I put another EP? Should I put a full length together? And believe me, it's frustrating sometimes because I look at some of my brothers that are real prolific, you know, cats that are just putting constantly in the spotlight, constantly dropping records.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's easy to compare myself to them and their level of output, but then I might read an article by somebody like, you know, A$AP Rock or you know, even my boy was studying Macklemore's game and sharing with me some of like his process, him and Ryan Lewis, how they were marinating on a lot of the songs that went on that record for years.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's I have to remind myself at the end of the day that I'm independent. This is my grind.
There you go.
And I'm gonna go at my own pace. And I'm in schools a lot talking to kids, and the kids always ask me. They'll say, "Mr. Crenshaw, who's your favorite MC?" And my answer, I might have said this before, on your show. My answer is always, I'm still trying to be my favorite MC. So I'm gonna constantly strive to get better. We got right now. The town has so much heat. Mike Capes, Glenn Waco, Rashid Jamal, man, these guys, just to name a handful of cats, you know, when I listen to what they're doing, when I look at what Illmaculate's doing out in the world right now, I'm like, this is some of the best hip-hop being created.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, I gotta just stay inspired. I gotta just stay in the lab.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, as long as they're coming as hard as they're coming, then I gotta come harder than I've ever come. You know what I mean? And it's not a competition in the sense of like I'm trying to beat them, but it's like I'm happy to see that the town is representing so well that it makes me want to be a better writer. You know, that's what hip hop is really about. Making those of us that participate in this culture want to be the best that we can be, right?
That's right, exactly. That's what's up, Mike Crenshaw. It's interesting too, you know, again, going back to when you first started putting material on tape to today, and now what you've done more on an international stage, not solely because I've got this record out that I'm going to support, but I've got this community that I want to support.
Right.
I mean, back in, you know, several years ago, was that even on your radar? Was that your mindset to do what you're doing now? And I want to talk a little bit more specifically about Global Fam Entertainment. But I mean, like, where did that happen? You know what,
Klyph? That happened early on in my development.
Yeah.
I had a vision. I've had a couple of visions that I've sustained over the course of most of my lifetime. You know, when I was young, I was walking in a shopping mall, and there was somebody had a camera set up. This is way back in the 80s. I was like 13 or something. And I was like, I always kind of like, ever since I was in the first school play I was in like 6th grade, I kind of gravitated towards the spotlight a little bit, which is ironic because I'm kind of an introvert too, right?
Yeah.
But when it's time for me to have to share my thoughts with the world, I'm like, seize that, you know? And so I walked up, I said, "What are you guys doing?" They said, "Oh, well, we're interviewing people, da-da-da. What do you think the future is going to be like?" And at a very young age, I had a vision of what the future was going to be like. I said, well, you know what? I think if we look at some of the other planets in our solar system, you know, I think that those planets probably had intelligent life on them like us at some point, but they destroyed their ability to live on those planets. And that's why they look like the way, right?
I get deep
so
early.
Right. So all the way back then, you know, I had visions, and then later on in my teens, I had visions that I was going to be part of. I would see myself sitting at a giant round table. And the feeling was that the people that surrounded that table were all important people, all leaders that represented different communities and different countries and different parts of the world and so on and so forth. So, like, I find that the work that I've done in a more specific and localized and temporal sense and space and time actually coincides with these larger visions that I've always had. Hence, the international work that I'm able to do, you know, and understanding, like, you know, it's bigger than hip-hop. That hip-hop is a tool and a platform for cultural expression, which is something that I'm deeply involved in, and I love it with all my heart, but it also is a tool.
Yeah.
and that there are larger processes going on that I get to interact with while I use hip hop, and that also I know I'm talking a long time off of that one question, but the African HipHop Caravan. I mean, as a black man in the United States, I've always known that it was my obligation and responsibility to try to connect to our cultural lineage beyond the history of slavery in the so-called New World.
Yeah.
And that I've had an opportunity to do that and build bridges through hip-hop is it's been phenomenal, and it's allowed me in my relatively young age to see that you can envision something that's very grand and then actually accomplish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Mike Crenshaw up in here. So just speak a little bit on, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit. Your last trip over to Africa, you did a lot in kind of a short time.
Yeah, we did.
Let folk know where you was at again.
We're in Cape Town, South Africa, Harare, Zimbabwe, Arusha, Tanzania, and Nairobi, Kenya for about a month. So we did about a week in each city, 4 cities, 4 weeks. And I traveled all the way with my brother Costa from Sounds of the South out of Cape Town. So the money that we raised was just enough to get the two of us to all 4 cities. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. That whole process of building with artists on an international level is something that we can all be a part of in terms of supporting that movement. What's the best way to do that?
Well, right now there is African HipHop Caravan. There's GoFundMe / African HipHop Caravan, African with the K, AFRIKAN, HipHop Caravan. There's hiphopcaravan.net. So that GoFundMe is a way to support the project financially, but just get informed about the project. If you go to hiphopcaravan.net, you can read about the inception of the project. This was the 2nd year we've done it. You can read about the overall vision. I'm the lead U.S. organizer. There's lots of organizers in different cities on the ground in Africa. Cape Town, the cities I mentioned, Cape Town, South Africa, Arusha, Tanzania, Harare, Zimbabwe, Nairobi, Kenya, but there's also a collective in Lome, Togo, too. And we're looking at, I mean, there's people that want to holler in Liberia. There's people in Ghana that want to holler. There's people in Tunisia, you know, that held it down last year, actually, even though I didn't make it all the way up to Tunisia. So there's even cats in Germany. We connected with Native Sons out of Great Britain. So it's really an international project that's grounded in African hip hop. Africans in the diaspora, but the core group of leaders that are pushing this project are all Africans in Africa, utilizing hip hop to reach out to everybody else all over the diaspora. And I'm looking at really trying to put on some of these younger artists so that they can get to experience what I got to experience. And also open up a lane so that the artists from Africa that I get to interact with when I'm there can come over here and do some stuff.
That's what's up right there, man. I mean, and I think that it's interesting, you know, in this social media age right now. I think I've talked to artists. As a matter of fact, Destro Destructo of Old Dominion. The last project that he put out was produced by this cat named Cashflow from Spain. And it was nuts because Destro told the story of how they connected over the internet, and Cashflow was like, yo, I dig your stuff, and Destro was like, yo, send me some beats, and he sent him like this whole file of beats. Long story short, it turned into
that's that whole album with the owl on the front.
Absolutely,
that's a dope record,
isn't it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It is,
and I think that you hear more and more of that now, where cats never. I mean, they meet each other via social media, but not on a one-on-one basis. So I think that's cool. But I think, you know, the next step in terms of what you're talking about in making that a very real situation where folk can actually see other places and connect in a real physical way that's kind of dope, bro.
Yeah, it's all important. You know, I'm a little bit old fashioned. I like to see stuff. I'm tactile. I like to touch it, smell it, taste it, hear it, you know, feel it. But I will say in support of the digital potential for people to not have to spend hella money and resources, you know, even to the ecological standpoint of of not having to have more fossil fuel being burnt up. You know what I mean?
Come on,
Real
man.
talk. So like, you know, people are Skyping in and doing webinars and all that, and that's good. You can connect with people that way, and I don't want people to be discouraged and feeling like, well, I can't afford $2,000 for a plane ticket, but well, you can get that collaboration going just on the computer. You know what I mean? And it still counts, because if y'all produce good work and you're in two different countries and two different regions of the world, you can still promote to your local audience, which is twice the exposure. Right? So that's a good thing. I remember when I first got up on the foreign exchange concept, you know, there was a collaborative record that came out, then there was a contest, and that was like a new concept to me. You know, like, what? People are, aren't you supposed to be in the studio together?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No doubt, man. Mike Crenshaw up in here, man. Well, I think it's dope that you are building relationships with people literally all over the world. And again, I think if we look back at what you've done throughout your career here in Portland, that's what, I mean, it's just an extension of what you've always done, which is just building with cats and building community. And it's dope to sort of see that next level of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
Absolutely. So I know that you're on social media a bit. If people are trying to connect with you, get more info on what's next, what's the best way to do that?
At Mike Crenshaw, MICCREN. SHAW, Twitter and Instagram, and then I'm on Facebook, Mike Crenshaw, MICCRENSHAW, as well as Michael Crenshaw. There's a few, I didn't know how many Michael Crenshaws there were. There's quite a bit of us right now. You know what? Shout out to my man Michael Alibaba Crenshaw. He's a rapper from Chicago. He lives in Detroit now. He's a dope MC. You know? So I'm like, at least if you're gonna be a Mike Crenshaw on the mic, you gotta be dope. So any of you guys out there that name and want to touch the mic, don't come with no whackness.
Mike's a fool. And then for folk who are local here in the Northwest, man, I know that you still hit the stage on a fairly regular, man. What you got?
We got Northwest Hip Hop Fest coming up at Hawthorne Theater on the 27th. Runaway Productions. It's like 30 trillion rappers on that bill.
Dude. Wow.
So I'm gonna be in the mix there that night. Let's see. I'm down at Cebu on a regular basis, and I think I'm about to head out to Seattle this weekend to do What the Bleep Happened to Hip Hop. So that's like a national campaign we're doing in association with Hip Hop Congress and Move to Amend. And that's good. We do like a weekend long. It's like what we call People's Movement Assemblies, PMAs, where we get together, we talk about the challenges and the opportunities, and then we come up with a plan, and we're doing it through and with hip hop. So that's in Seattle. At Hollow Ground this weekend, and then I'm gonna be out as the featured speaker, like the keynote speaker, presenting at the first annual Hip Hop and Activism Conference at Augsburg University in Minnesota next week.
Okay.
And I'm not sure when you're gonna air this, but I'm around, man. I might be in your neck of the woods pretty soon. The What the Bleep campaign, we've got, I think, Detroit, Florida, San Jose. So we've got dates set up across the country in the year to come.
Okay. So that's what's up, man. We definitely want to make sure that people are up on that. Just to join the movement, to continue to move things forward in a positive way. For
sure, man. So look for What the Bleep Happened to Hip Hop, or capital WTB on Facebook, and look for Hip Hop Congress on Facebook as well.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up, Mike Crenshaw. Brother, I know, like I said, you're a busy man, so I just had to try to sneak in.
I'm glad we caught each other.
You know?
Yeah, man, you did it.
That's what's up, man. Be on the look for more from my man, Mike Crenshaw. Subscribe to the podcast, and we'll always keep you linked up on what's happening. And then gotta get you back on the radio show too, man.
For sure, man.
Get you back up in the neighborhoods, you know.
I want to be in the neighborhood, man. Let's talk.
All right, y'all.
All right, Klyph.
See you next time. Peace.
One love.